Welcome to Legally Everywhere, where we are what?
I was able to go from local news articles and see how many different maybe cities or counties they index within their respective places to see how many, or better yet, what index where these places were. So we could try to pull some data. This is not going to be all exhaustive, so do not feel like what I'm putting up within a 24-hour period would be all exhaustive. But this is what I found thus far, and it's quite significant at this point, right? The articles or the information that I pulled, I wanted to make sure, one, what is publicly accessible, because I always told you my information be publicly accessible. Two, it was verifiable. I could go check and say, okay, they said it was here. To some degree, there's some information supporting that it was there. So whether it was an official meetup, something that's public information, not anything that could be private, wouldn't want to do anything odd that way. And also, I wanted to wait until at least the 24-hour period had expired. So hopefully that everyone who went out and engaged in those activities are safely home. We want to make sure we're doing some safekeeping there, some best practices there. So I wanted to give it the full 24-hour period. Some of this information was posted ahead of time because obviously people are meeting up there. But we wanted to make sure everyone is safely home and that we're able to do this data and not feel like it's putting anyone in any kind of situations, right? So like y'all like, girl, get to these receipts. Listen, this is the event right here. So you can see this is Minneapolis, this is Washington, D.C., this is Philadelphia, Chicago, New York City, San Diego, Boston, right? So we see there's a wide variety of places. Okay. So just so you can see, I was able, based off of the metrics that I kind of gave you, and I have a few more. I'm going to look back and forth with my notes, make sure I'm giving y'all as much tea as I possibly can without overcomplicating or making it super long. This is, consider this more like a snapshot. I want this to be encouraging. I want people to kind of think about some of the other optics that could be in play, some of the other things that could be happening at the same time. I'm not saying causation. I'm not going to say motive. What I'm going to say is I found it interesting, right? And I started off with a hypothesis, as most people do, right? I was very curious about how much overlap would be. I was curious if there was overlap, better yet, right? I wanted to know how many places that had no king protests had MOUs in that city or reasonably within that reasonable jurisdiction, right? That's really interesting information. It'll also be very relevant information. ICE is something that's associated very strongly with the executive, right? And being very pro some of the things that have been happening throughout the United States. This particular protest is in protest of certain kinds of things. Now, specifically with the focus of ICE, right? Which is immigration elements, right? That is for what I'm looking at with regards to the MOUs, just so that we're clarifying and that I'm putting out as many disclaimers as I possibly can